introducing a Whitney, otherwise known as Dawn Exodus of YouTube fame, to the show. Whitney, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. As I had mentioned to you before, we're going to discuss a couple topics, primarily David Klinghoffer's article, The Dark Side of Darwinism, which somehow made its way onto the Huffington Post, which, as I mentioned earlier in the show, left me outraged that it could make it in there. So I figured I wanted to talk about it.
See, I don't quite hold the Huffington. I don't quite hold the Huffington to that high of standards, but our good fellow Marshall does.
I could understand not holding them to the highest of journalistic esteem, but I mean when they make errors that are obvious to even infants and the more sophisticated of farm animals, that's a bit egregious.
Well, someone's got to speak out against it.
Yeah, so, and we're here with frontal lobes and are willing to do so. So
absolutely. Whitney, why don't you tell us a couple things about yourself? When did you start your YouTube account, Dawn Exodus?
Well, I'm Dawn Exodus 2 on YouTube. I registered as Dawn Exodus, and somehow YouTube butchered the password, and I was never able to recover it. This was far before I ever started making videos, so I just simply made Dawn Exodus 2 and used that, and later on decided to post videos and figured I would use that name. So it was. I started making videos. I think it was December of 2007, perhaps. I think it was one of my first videos.
What inspired you to jump in and start making videos about evolution and contradicting a lot of the creationist BS out there?
It was actually, ironically, kind of laziness. I started off studying evolutionary biology so heavily. It was so obvious that evolution was the correct answer and was valid and accurate. And I started thinking, well, there has to be something to creationism. There has to be something somewhere. I might not be getting both sides. I might not be doing something. And I was a Christian at the time. And I decided to just go on the internet and go to places like Answers in Genesis and find out what is the opposing side saying. And I was just sort of appalled. And I sort of had this epiphany of, oh my God, these people have no clue what they're talking about. And it's not things that are a matter of opinion. It's not like, maybe, I don't know, something dental related or something that's up in the air. Maybe Barack Obama's a good president. Maybe he's not. This is bottom line. It's 9:00 at night. It's getting dark and people are screaming, it's global darkening. Right. There's absolutely no question. These people are completely misinformed and they don't know the basics about biology. And it started pissing me off because it seemed that it was one part stupid, one part ignorance.
Yeah,
well,
and the problem...
And one part insane, but go ahead.
Yeah, and the problem with the fact, with their being wrong, is not that they're wrong so much as it is that there are actually people out there who take them seriously.
Yeah, and that's, if you listen to a lot of the people on YouTube, like the Nephilim Free and the Truthful Christians and things like that, the idea that Noah's flood sent a jet of water flying off the Earth and hitting the moon, and that's what caused the craters on the moon. We'll ignore the fact that there are craters on the opposite side of the moon, too. But there are people that take them seriously and that actually believe them. And I think that we sort of have this tendency to sit back and look at that and say, this is so stupid, no one will ever believe it. But I think that we're giving people too much credit, and it pains me a lot to say that. But so I started on Facebook, actually, and in a lot of the discussion groups there dealing with creationists and kind of honing my arguments. And the universal theme is that none of them knew a damn thing about biology. Not a single one. And it was basically just ignorance, and it was a matter of educating them. And I got tired of copying and pasting and writing the same arguments out over and over and over and over again. And I decided, you know what, why don't I just show you? I understand that perhaps these people can't understand what I'm saying. I'll use visual aids. That might help. Mm-hmm. And so then every time somebody would post, the argument for the 137th time, I would simply refer them to my YouTube channel, and, case was closed, I guess. I would refer them to specific videos. And it eventually got to the point where it took off a lot, and I just kind of abandoned doing anything on Facebook and, well, other than randomly stalking people, and just focused on my YouTube channel.
And we're glad that you did, because it's an excellent channel. I believe I've watched every single one of your videos, and
Oh, thank you very much.
oh,
I didn't. It is the best cure for insomnia.
yeah. Oh, you would believe how many times I've stayed up late at night watching these evolutionists or Thunderfoot and your videos and DPR Jones and all those guys.
A lot of it about the presentation. I mean, the people like the Discovery Institute and stuff do very good jobs of packaging the information properly so that people suck it up.
Mm-hmm.
What we try to do, I think, is have a good package, a good vehicle to deliver the message, and have the message actually have content and be factually accurate, which is something, in an area which we differ from our creationist colleagues.
They're extremely well produced. That was what I was going to say.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah, I actually have no video. I mean, if you notice, I mean, I'm a lot further ahead on my video production skills than I am on my image production skills, because all of my images are still drawn in Microsoft Paint. Circa 1984. Anyways.
That's a lot better than I could do. Well, and even though he doesn't make videos anymore, one person who I actually feel sorry for, and is kind of a casualty of the creationist lunacy. I'm sure you remember him, Venom Fang X, who, as far as I can tell, was just an average normal kid, probably a little on the nerd side.
No, he's Venom Fang X had some. We've been in contact with family members of his, and he actually has some issues.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah, although I do have to give him, he is. If you contrast him with, if you look at Nephilim Free, just from his syntax and the way he looks and the way he presents and the things that he says, I mean, okay, you're appalled. Instantly, you're repulsed. Truthful Christian, same thing. But when you get to someone like Venom Fang X, I mean, he can form a coherent sentence, and he's a little bit of a different of an adversary. But at the end, it all comes down to they've got different gifts, but there's the same level of dishonesty and malevolence in all of them.
Well, that's what gets me the most is those like Ray, what's his name, Banana Man,
Comfort.
Yes, and many of these others. I can understand the first few times they say, well, this is what evolution says and this is why it doesn't work. And then someone comes along and says, no, this is what it means. This is how it works step by step. You're mistaken in what you perceive us to be saying. Then they go, oh, okay, and they turn around and spout the same thing again. Now liars. And they're being ingenuous completely.
There was one time, or not even necessarily liars. I agree with you. It's willful ignorance. But, I mean, if you take someone like Truthful Christian, and this is an honest, I mean, I've had several instances of this happening with him, and if you doubt his mindset, and I use that word loosely, take a look at the Magic Sandwich video, where you can just completely see him just beating the shit out of himself with his own arguments, and he doesn't even understand. He still, to this day, thinks that he owned me in that argument and has no clue whatsoever. I mean, you can explain it to him, you can use pictures, you can help him out with any big words he doesn't understand, but he still doesn't get it. He has told me evolution is false because it adds no new. It's impossible to add new information. I go, well, actually, here's how you can add information. This is how it works. This is how it happens. These are all the times it's been observed, and these are the products of it. Okay, well. Evolution is still false because it can't add new information. I mean, it's literally between.
And that, in a nutshell, is basically the creationist methodology.
Yeah, they're not all alike, though. I mean, you have crazy, you have stupid, and you have ignorant. And ignorance, by all means, isn't a crime. But we're all ignorant, and we're all ignorant about some things.
You still have arguments being used that are decades old that have been verifiably disproven.
Yeah,
I mean, demonstrably disproven. You can actually see these things under a microscope or elsewhere, and they are still using those arguments primarily, in my suspicion, because while a person who's actually taken the time to research evolution and biology and radiology and paleontology and all that stuff, while that person actually knows the truth, their target audience has no idea and just going to.
That's what makes them disingenuous.
Yeah, well, they're not even wolves in sheep's clothing. They're just mean sheep.
Yes, exactly.
No, it's I don't know.
I can't. I used to debate them all the time. I can't do it anymore. It's
well, you do reach a. There is a level. There's definitely like a sort of asymptote at which you reach it, and you're just sort of like, Okay, I need to get away from this.
Yes.
And that's sort of going on with Truthful Christian right now. We used to entertain his calls and things like that, but now it's just kind of like, piss off.
Okay.
I mean, he's no longer funny, and it's the sort of thing where whenever debating a creationist, well, with Nephilim Free and things like that, when I offered to debate him, you should never debate a creationist, and I do believe that unless you know enough about them, because a lot of it is about presentation, and it's a lot about your style of argument, and it's about your ability to think on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally know that I'm very good at that, and I know that he's not so much. And having reality on my side isn't really a bad thing. So YouTube needed another, I don't want to say another villain, but it had gone stagnant. After Venom Fang X was, carried away to his padded room, and after Gear Up kind of disappeared, there was really no one in the community, kind of gone stagnant. Here we had a crazy person, and I saw an opportunity. So that's why I offered to, but at the same time, by and large, whenever you do it, it just gives them credibility. If you don't do it, there is a very distinct way to do it, and you should only do it if you have a lot of experience and you know what you're doing. You have to have a clear goal in mind.
By the way, I think it's after Gear Up DMCA'd himself to have an excuse to leave the scene.
Yeah.
That's my.
And Nephilim Free did the same, I believe.
Oh, really?
It's completely.
Did he DMCA'd himself too? Yeah.
So anyway, let's get to Klinghoffer's arguments.
Sure.
The dark side of Darwinism, and in a nutshell, what he does here. Well, actually, what he's doing here is he's pimping out a movie that he and the Discovery Institute's putting out. What Hath Darwin Wrought? Apparently, it's coming out sometime.
Well, that's not self-flating at all.
No. So
I thought it was this summer or this fall.
Oh, is it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I'm not watching it, so I don't care what it is.
Better hurry before the rapture gets here.
So anyway, what he does essentially in this argument is blame eugenics. All eugenics on Darwinism. On Darwin specifically, not just Darwinism, but specifically on Darwin, and essentially, he tries to make a case that racism is a result of Darwin's works.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, which of course, as I mentioned earlier in the show, that as we know, racism did not exist prior to Darwin.
So
this is actually well documented. It's not even in the Bible. No slavery or anything like that in there.
Clearly,
yeah, definitely not the Bible.
And women were treated equally before Darwin, too. There's nothing about them not being able to speak in church. To me, this argument is almost a non-starter. All right, look, even if, first of all, the vast majority of Nazi Germany was Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that elected Hitler. Those are the people that supported Hitler. Hitler himself put God mit uns on the belt buckles, which means God with us. Hitler was obsessed, and Hitler, by the way, himself was a Christian and
a Catholic.
Yeah, there's always the argument of, well, Hitler was also a vegetarian. Why not blame the Holocaust on vegetarianism? It's the question of whether or not there is a direct line of correlation between his beliefs and what he did. And the fact of the matter with Hitler is his understanding of evolution was botched. It was more of a if you look at it instead of survival of the fittest, it was more of a God's chosen people sort of mentality, and that we are the fittest, we are the best, we are the and he didn't understand evolution. Hitler certainly wasn't an atheist. Even if Hitler was an atheist, the vast majority of people committing his crimes were Christian. They were not atheist. But let's go and let's travel into Klinghoffer land. And let's say that Hitler was an atheist, and he did everything that he did because of evolution, which, by the way, once again, if you read Mein Kampf, it's pretty clear that he has more of a biblical sense of
he's a
lineages. And yeah, well, but his view of lineages and the master race and stuff like that is about preserving lineages. It's like biblical genealogy. It's not even about it. He didn't understand evolution at all. No, but even if everything was due to evolution, so what? Viruses, the viral theory kills, millions of people every single year. Some of the worst suffering inflicted on human beings is because of viruses. Hell, take a look at Ebola. But does that mean viruses are false? Even if, in Klinghoffer's article, he's basically stating that Hitler misused and abused Darwin's theory, which kind of undercuts his own point. Why would he even say that? Okay, so you misuse it and abuse it. Well, take a look at the ridiculous things that have been done in the name of Christianity.
Exactly.